Dave Parody here with another slide makeover video podcast based on the ideas in my book, The Visual Slide Revolution. Today's slide comes from a slide I was working on last week in a consulting assignment where I was helping a presenter work on a specific high-level presentation. And one of the things they were trying to talk about is how certain test results in their organization, one part, had been moving closer to the average they wanted them to. This was their original slide. It is literally a copy of an Excel spreadsheet or a part of an Excel spreadsheet, and it shows they do 6 measurements on each run, and it shows the value of the measurement, the delta against the desired average, which is 55. And so it shows here clearly that you can see the average is getting better, closer to 55, and the delta is getting smaller. Now, there's a lot of numbers on this slide, and it was very hard for the audience to really understand what is that we're trying to say here. No idea of what the message was and why it was important. If you actually got through all the numbers, you could kind of figure it out, but it was really an overload for them. So what I did is I said, well, let's make sure that the audience can really understand that we are moving towards our desired average. So here's the slide that I created that it was much better in terms of delivering that message. Let me show you how it was presented. In our 2 runs, what we found is that we are certainly getting greater convergence around the average value that we want. So run 1, here were the results of the various readings that we got, and the average again that we're trying to get to is 55. We made a few changes, and in the second run, here's what we found. Those values moved towards the average, and as you can see, our results are much closer to the average. So in that particular visual, what we did is we actually showed the values moving towards the average line. And it makes it so much easier for people to understand, oh yeah, look, I mean, those are much closer, and we saw them move from the far data points into closer when there was movement. There was one reading at the end, the reading of 60, that actually didn't move between the 2 tests, the 2 runs. So what we've done here is we've made it so much easier for the audience to understand the message we're getting, or the message we're trying to deliver, which is we're getting greater convergence around the average value that we want. So here are some of the lessons when you're discussing the movement of numeric values, and it could be movement towards an average, movement towards a standard, a desired goal, a number of different things that you might have depending on your context. First of all, instead of just throwing up a table out of Excel, which is the easy thing to do because, I mean, we do all the calculations in Excel, just copy and paste. Instead of that, think of how do we use a visual instead of a table. And in that visual, actually show the values moving. This is one of the times when I will say to presenters, this is an appropriate use of movement animation. Normally, I'll suggest, don't have stuff flying and zinging and binging and banging and twirling on the slide because it's really annoying. But in this case, the movement has a purpose. The purpose is to show people where the values are actually moving. So what are some of the techniques that you need to learn, or the lessons from this particular makeover? And they're really around techniques of layering. So first of all, what I did is I layered, the first layer down was the simple graph that showed the first set of values. Here's where we were after run 1. Then what I did is I added shapes that were the same size as the point and the same shape, the square, on top of that graph, because those are the ones I wanted to move. And then when I moved them, I removed that previous value, the graph, so that it's kind of like layering on top and then removing the bottom layer so you don't see it anymore. It's not distracting. Because if I had left it there, the movement wouldn't have made as much sense. So when you're discussing movement of values, this is a good example of where animation, movement animation, is appropriate. Use it because it will enable the audience to clearly understand that the values are moving if you do it on a visual. Don't use a table, use a visual with appropriate movement instead. For more information on the book, go to www.visualsliderevolution.com. For more information on my training, my individual consulting, the videos and other resources, go to my main website at www.ThinkOutsideTheSlide.com. This has been Dave Parody with another Slide Makeover video podcast.